Hello, Kate. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. It's pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, hey, friends, this is Kate Stocks, and she's an award-winning and number one best-selling author of children's book, who lives in Bismarck with her family and two dogs. So,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about yourself, Kate.
I'm, like I said, originally from Bismarck, North
Uh-huh.
Dakota, and I kind of moved around North Dakota, and now I'm back in my home city. So I'm excited to be there. I've been back, I guess, for about 8 years. And my day job, what I do is I run an insurance division across our state, working with funeral directors. And then back in 2017, I decided I really wanted to start my own business. And so it was just kind of a side thing that I wanted to start. So I started a baby boutique and kind of pop up online and a little bit of wholesale. And I incorporated animals into what I was doing. I wanted to give back to the community. So I donate a portion of sales to animal shelters here. And there was one dog, Pickles,
Mhm.
that's her real name. Her story just kind of was inspiring to me. She um, was surrendered at a shelter, and there was a major flood in that area, and she kept getting returned. And in the end, a family member of mine ended up with her, and she's just this wonderful dog. And you just think, like, why would she get returned? She's just such a great dog. And one day I decided I wanted to write a story about her. I wanted to write this children's book about her. And so that's what I did. I just started figuring out what I needed to do there. And I'm really glad that I did, because in the end, or bringing me to today, I became a number one best-selling author. The books have won awards, and now I'm writing all kinds of new books and stuff. So it's just been a really exciting path. With winning some of those awards, I got to travel. I was in Washington, D.C. for the ALA conference last year. So doing a book signing at the world's largest library conference was really cool. And was just in Michigan not too long ago for another award there.
Mhm.
And then, I really enjoyed doing the school visits and meeting just a bunch of wonderful people and amazing kids that are thinking about becoming authors themselves. So it's been a fun journey there.
So, can you tell us more about this authorship? How did you take as a passion, and how you can teach us a little bit if we want to be author somewhere down the line or right now? So,
Yeah,
guide.
absolutely. So, I definitely feel a passion for sharing stories and helping children and parents. And basically what I did was I started reading books about publishing, figured out that I wanted to go the self-publishing route. So really focused my attention there and collaborated. Well, I reached out to other authors, got advice from them, joined other author groups. And so I kind of had this support system that I kind of created, and which made it really kind of fun to do that process. And so that was kind of my beginning part of it, even though it was really scary to try something new. I'm not an author by background. I'm
Uh-huh.
not a publisher by background. I'm not all these things that you would think a traditional author would be. And so it definitely took a lot of changing my mindset that I'm not the first person to write a book. I can do it. And
Uh-huh.
I truly believe that, I don't even remember who said this, but they said, we're all authors. We all tell stories every day. It's just a matter of making that choice of putting it down in a format of pen and paper and publishing it. So, I truly believe that everybody has a story and that they could share.
That's nice. So, what
Yeah.
age, if you tell us, like, when did you start your journey of authorship? Is it like, as you were saying, that it is not your background? So I'm thinking it is never too late to learn. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of had the idea, and from the point that I had the idea to having the book physically in my hand was about a year. You know, the whole process of finding the right illustrator, writing the story, you know, you write it over and over and change it. And you know, I didn't have any experience hiring an illustrator, finding all those things out, how to do that, finding the printer, figuring out everything. So it did take me a little while, but just illustrations in themselves, it takes a while for the artist to create those. And you know, the formatting takes a while, the printing takes a while. When you're printing thousands of books, it's not just a couple hour journey. So yeah, it took about a year.
Okay, so tell us, like, what was your challenges in your journey? Like, is it learning, or is it just having that conviction that I can do it?
Yeah, well, you know, it was definitely challenging that I didn't have any background. So I really was struggling with, you know, am I really good enough to do this? And, you know, all that kind of like negative talk. But I just kind of decided that I was going to focus my energy on all the positive things that could come from it. And there has been so much good that has come from it. And I think that, you know, that's kind of what keeps me going too, is that verbal affirmation of, you know, your story touched my life in a certain way. And maybe I'll just kind of touch a little bit on what some of the stories are about so you can get an idea. But the first story, so Pickles, she gets adopted to a family that lives on a farm. Well, she's never been to a farm before, so she kind of gets into some mischief, and this little girl, she's kind of frustrated because Pickles, she's doing all these things she doesn't want her to do, and she has this conversation with her mom, and her mom doesn't tell her what to do. She just says, try something different. So kind of giving our kids that empowerment to think through a problem and maybe create a solution that you think will work, instead of, it's really easy for me as a parent to say, oh, just go do this and this, and this is how you do it. So trying to give our kids that idea that, you know, they can think through things and create their own solutions. And so basically what she does is the next day when they're going to check on the family or on their farm and all the animals, she grabs a squeaky toy and she brings that with. And just as Pickles is going to run into the mud, she grabs that squeaky toy and she squeaks it. Well, that grabs Pickles' attention, redirects her attention to her. So in dog training, that's called redirection. And she's able to train Pickles to listen on the farm, basically. So kind of bringing in some training elements too as well. And then in the second book, that's a Christmas one, and that one's focused on creating your own family traditions. And her traditions just aren't very traditional, and everything she does is just very giving and it just very giving to the community and things like that. And then there's also a hide in, or finding the pickle basically on each page, and so kids can do a find and search there. And then the third one that's coming out in the fall, that one is Pickles Goes to School, and they learn about how to create a deeper connection with the dog, and then also in turn, like how we can create a deeper connection with our kids. So that's kind of the story. So I think that, you know, some things that kind of keep me going is when people will say, this kid really doesn't like reading, but they saw your book and they saw the stuffed animal. They saw if you adopt Pickles and read to her every day, you know, that's part of her adoption. And then getting excited for the first time about reading and reading to the dog. So I think that things like that make me feel good and make me want to keep going for sure.
Wow, amazing. So I'm listening some lessons over there. So can you teach us that lesson in our life, not in Pickle's life or someone's else, but right now we are in pandemic and we are stressed financially and kind of a loneliness. So would you like to tell us some lessons?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing that I try to do is when I'm feeling down about something, or I feel maybe anxious about something, I'm really worried that, oh, this isn't going to turn out, or especially during the pandemic, all these unknowns. And a good friend of mine, Pam Emmel, she has a bracelet. It's a 5-second rule bracelet where you basically count down the beads, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you just do whatever it is that is kind of ailing you. So if I'm anxious about something, what if I lose my job, or what if I don't have sales, or things like that, counting down to 0 and kind of letting that go and changing my mindset to something that is positive, and being grateful for the things that I do have. So that's kind of been one tool that I've used, in just really shifting. If I don't know 100% sure that I'm going to lose my job or whatever it is, why focus that energy there? Focus it on what's new that I want to create, what's something different that I want to do during this time. So
it means if you want to change your focus, just use some external tool that can remind you that you can change the things, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Something else you want to tell us?
Yeah, and I think too, don't give up too. During this whole journey of becoming an author and publishing books and stuff, there was definitely days where I thought, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I have a full-time job, I have a kid, I have my dogs, I do pet therapy, I travel all the time, and it just, some days it gets to be a lot, and I think, how can I keep going? But thinking about those things that do make me feel good, when I do hear people telling me that my story has changed their kids' perspective on reading and writing and things like that, it just kind of keeps me going. So finding that thing that keeps your passion and keeps you excited about what you're doing, to think about those things and focus on that.
Wow, so many things on one time. So can you tell us about time management a little bit? Because I know your time is everywhere.
Yeah, and how I kind of look at my time is, I had to figure out where I spend my time. Mm-hmm. When am I most productive? And so for me, I'm kind of a morning person. So I got to get a lot of stuff done in the morning. And by bedtime, I'm going to sleep. I'm getting my full 8 hours of sleep because I need that. Otherwise, I don't function. So really focusing on the time that I am most productive and getting the things done that I need to do, and taking out the things that I don't really need to do. If it's kind of a time killer to watch TV, then I'm not going to watch TV. If I have all these other things that I want to get done, if I want to accomplish my dream, it's not going to be watching a movie that's going to be in my way, kind of thing. So if that makes sense.
That's true. So what are 3 challenges you want to share with us? Like in your life, it was like, okay, give up now, but you didn't.
Yeah, I think, even going back to childhood, I grew up, I didn't like reading. I didn't like writing. Those were like my 2 least favorite subjects in school. And so when I do school visits, I always find it kind of interesting that, I wasn't this passionate reader and all these things until later on in life. I first kind of fell in love with reading when I started reading about training dogs and I really wanted to get a dog, and I have 2 Great Danes now, but I wanted to train them to be really wonderful animals. And so I started reading books and watching videos and took them to classes and did all this stuff. And I think that was really a turning point in my life, that I realized that there's so much that you can find in a book. You could do anything by just reading books. And so it kind of changed my mindset. And I just started reading like every book I could get my hands on, and read hundreds and hundreds of books. And so I kind of like fell in love with it then. And then when I had my son, he absolutely loved books. So with a busy boy, it was a time where we would just sit and relax, and he just enjoyed children's books so much. And so it just kind of became this thing that I really enjoyed too, because it was such a special time for us. And so then that was kind of when I fell in love with children's books. So, it's never too late to discover a new passion or create a new dream. Sometimes I feel like I went to school, went to college, got my master's, and I was going to do this one specific thing, and I'm not really doing that. And I'm okay with that. Like, I love it that I'm doing something that I totally love. So it's never too late to try something new. And a good friend of mine, he always said, you never know what you can do until you actually try. And so, that's one thing I love to share with people, is to actually try. If you have this idea for a business or a book or whatever it is, go out and try and do it, and seek out the people that can help you.
Thank you, Kate, for sharing your thoughts. So we learned a lot from you. Never give up. It's never too late to learn new things. And It's great to be right place, doing right things. Thank you very much. I appreciate your help.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.